Welcome back to Under Oath.
I'm your host, Attorney Jeff Kaufman.
You
Sitting
are.
next to me is my brother in comedy, my good friend, my Jimmy Cricket, James John.
Am I your conscience?
Yeah, I'll say something every once in a while, and James goes, "You sure you want to go there?
Yeah.
You sure you want to go there?"
You're a professional. I'm not. You people.
Jeff, you've got a lot to lose.
You too, man.
You've got a lot to lose.
Don't be like me. Be better
A lot
than
to
me.
lose. I'm at an age now where I want to laugh at everything.
Of course.
I just want to laugh.
Yes.
I don't want to gripe and moan and everything. And we survived another Mother's Day recently.
Oh.
And there's nothing you can buy for anybody anymore. What do you buy from somebody who closer to death and farther away from it?
That's a great question.
You know, because you're
That's a
thinking,
great question.
if I buy you this, then I'm just going to have to, you know.
If I buy you this, how long you going to really use it?
I mean,
How long
I
are you going to be around?
start thinking about gifts in the sense of expiration dates.
There you go.
And then you go, what can I get this person that they'll like? So I went online to the flower place, and I don't want to get flowers because, you know, so I get like these strawberries, you know, like the chocolate strawberries.
Edible arrangements.
And then they say, how many? You want a dozen or 2 dozen?
That's a lot.
It seems like a lot, but you don't want to be cheap.
No, you don't.
It's like the guy who buys 1 rose
I've seen that.
or half a dozen. Like, why buy half?
Really? Half a dozen?
You could buy half a dozen.
That seems half-assed.
That seems like, like you are going to do the exact opposite that you want. If
Correct.
somebody goes, 1, oh, that's elegant.
Mm-hmm.
6, you being cheap.
You being cheap.
Guys, never let this happen to you. If you have a sister
Uh-huh.
and she calls you up and says, hey, Mother's Day, Father's Day, how about we split the gift?
I've been there.
Let's split the gift.
Yeah.
And I'll take care of it. I'll put your name on it. Everything will be great.
Mm-hmm.
Father's Day 2004. A day that will reign in infamy for me. It's Father's Day. My sister goes out and she goes, it's an expensive gift. How about we split it? And I'm going, sure. I'll be supportive for my sister, who's rich as balls to begin with.
Got it.
But I'll split this $500 gift or something with.
Got it. Nice gift.
Okay. Father's Day comes.
Uh-huh.
And I call my dad up. I'm like, hey, happy Father's Day, everything else like that. You know, it was later in the day too. A little later in the day.
You gave it time.
I wasn't the first one who called.
Absolutely.
It was like afternoon.
Yeah.
Because I know he might eat or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, so Dad, how'd you like the gift? He goes, I didn't get your gift. I go, well, Jenny said you got it. He goes, I got her gift.
Oh.
I'm sorry, what? He goes, yeah. I go, well, we bought it together. Well, your name wasn't on it.
Oh, snap.
Oh. Dad,
Uh-huh.
I did pay for half that gift.
Yes, I did.
He goes, name's not on the card.
Your sister treated you like laundry because she hung you out to dry. Bruh.
I was like, hold on.
Yeah.
And if your name's not on the card, it doesn't count.
Wow.
Well, happy Father's Day, Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a phone call I need to make.
Call you later.
I call my sister up. She goes, I just forgot. I'm going, hold on. And the worst thing is this.
Mm-hmm.
There's no her calling and going, Dad, it was from Jeffrey too.
No.
Because you know he's going to think,
yeah,
you're just covering for your brother. And that's exactly what he thought.
Wow. But here's the thing.
So every Mother's Day or Father's Day after that,
Nope.
no matter what I bought, I made sure to write her name on every gift I gave.
Just to mess with her.
Just so that my mother would call and go, Jeffrey, that's not funny anymore. I think it is.
I think it's hilarious.
I think it's hilarious.
Yes.
Did your sister volunteer? Of course she did.
Of course.
So then she calls, hey, thanks for the strawberries. What strawberries? Damn it. Every year he gets me. So yes.
Oh,
yes.
God bless.
So another Mother's Day came. My sister got included on the card again.
Oh.
And, you know, she showed up. And I go, tell Jenny she could share the strawberries that, you know, she gave.
Bro, you've been doing this for over 20 years.
She don't even take my calls anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, man. 20 years. I love how petty you are. God bless you.
I don't know if it's petty. I think it's... I'm just
21 years?
I'm just making sure to
Dave,
include
is that
you.
a little petty?
I'm just...
A little bit.
I'm just including you.
I'm just... You know what? Inclusion.
I'm inclusion. Yes. I identify as an includer. Yes. I'm an inclusive kind of person.
I'm going to include my foot right up here.
Yes.
I love it.
I believe in practical jokes.
Gotcha.
I believe if you do a joke so well that it's amazing.
If it's good enough, keep it
people
back.
always say to me, "Hey Jeff, why can't you take a joke?" Oh, I can take a joke. I'm just going to return it. And I'm a
I know that
ungodly
about you.
creative person.
I know you are.
So when I do like a bad joke, a friend of mine did something to me, and I made a copy of her car key, and I just would repark her car about to the next space, like for 6 straight months.
Freak her out. Oh my gosh, she was freaked out.
So every time she walked out to her car, she goes, "Somebody is stealing my car
Stealing
for like
it
10 seconds
and moving it.
and moving it." And she would check the mileage, and the mileage wouldn't change.
No.
And she goes, "Somebody's just moving my car." I go,
who would do that?
What?
Why would they do that?
And then every once in a while, I would like move an item to a different part of the car. You know, I wouldn't move the car. I'd just move an item in the car.
It would make her crazy.
Yeah. She goes, "Wait, this was on the other side a second ago." And I didn't come clean. I still haven't.
That's diabolical.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I like it.
Yeah. You forget when a joke. You forget you make a joke sometimes and it just lasts forever.
Uh-huh.
You know, like Craig when I created the gay porn website.
Bro,
Yeah.
I still laugh to myself about you making a fake gay website for your partner.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man, it was the best.
And when it started making money, that's hilarious. Yeah. That's what
covered his kids' college fund. It was great. Yeah. It was a good logo. It was a good logo.
Shout out to Craig.
Yeah, shout out for Greg and his great gay website. His big gay website.
Oh my God.
So, all right, what do we got? What do we got?
It's once again time for Legally Screwed.
All right, let's
Jeff's going to give you his expert opinion. Okay. My sister may have forged some documents. Here we go.
Bad sisters.
Bad sister. Now, after my parents
just
died,
make sure to include her name on every document from then on.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. After my parents died, my sister took over their home, claiming she had a ladybird deed and power of attorney.
Hold on. Before we go on.
Yeah.
What is a ladybird deed? And
Please.
And as the lawyer in the room, I got to tell you what this is. A ladybird deed looks like this. Let's say I loan you money.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of selling your house, what happens is I can pay off your house, or I can give you like $200,000, and I only collect after the house gets sold.
Got it.
So ladybird deed means that, you know, if there's money in the house or something else like that, and they sell it, I get the money that's left over it. In this case, obviously, the ladybird deed included the possibility of her just taking over the house completely and not having to sell it.
Got it.
So
all the money would go to her.
Yeah, the house and whatever, or sometimes there's a remainder that goes to the rest of the estate.
Okay.
So yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, so she had a ladybird deed and power of attorney, but wouldn't show me any proof. I later got the deed and my dad's signature. It looked forged. Confirmed by online tools and my lawyer that the notary and witnesses were all her friends. This may be fraud, but I'm conflicted about pursuing legal action due to family drama. What should I do?
Okay. The first thing I would do is this. There had to be some kind of money involved.
Yes.
The ladybird deed, there's a contract for this, you get this. And you say to her, listen, I'll believe you. Just show me the transaction.
Okay.
Show me the money.
Okay.
The money had to go somewhere.
Absolutely.
So if the money went into the bank, just show me that, I'll be good. I said, you know, if you want me to accept that this is what happened.
It's what she wanted.
You know, well, not that she actually, there was a legal transaction. Show me proof of the legal transaction more than a document.
Gotcha.
If you can show me that you transferred money over or something else like that. A ladybird trust is about there's something transferred. If she would have just wanted to write that over to them, it would have been a quit claim deed.
Gotcha.
So this was obviously an arrangement and there was something exchanged. So show me the exchange and I'll be good with it.
My question is this.
Because you have access to the bank account, so you could see if something changed. But sometimes it's too long. Let's say it was 10 years before, they might not have the account information. That might be gone.
But you can get it, though, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But my question is this. What if you find out that those documents were actually forged? That's fraud.
Yeah, of course it's fraud.
Got it.
Civil, it's criminal and civil fraud.
Civil, got it. Okay.
But the problem you're dealing with this is, now, when I read something like this, it's hard for me to believe. Because normally when somebody dies, there's a will, there's an estate, or sometimes when there's not a will, it has to go to probate court where everything's divided.
Correct.
So if her estate was divided by court and not a will, then the court would have picked that up.
Got it.
So it's a very weird thing when you're talking about dead people's money.
And I've seen it bring out the absolute worst in people. in families when someone dies?
Nothing. We're talking divorce. Divorce doesn't even come close to how crappy when somebody dies, the money.
How human beings act, yes.
I mean, and some people before they die are absolutely irresponsible. They tell people all these things. Oh, I'm going to leave you this. I'm going to leave you this. I'm going to leave you
Which
this.
I've seen.
And they lie.
They lie, yes.
They lie.
Yeah.
So what happens is once they're dead, they don't want to take crap because then I'm dead. It doesn't matter. And it goes to this person or it goes to that person. Like
then there's hurt feelings.
Yeah, I had a relationship with a person, and they made it clear to me I had to do this, and this, and I was taking care of all their issues. And then there was a different will at the end, and all the things that I was being responsible for, they put somebody else in charge who, let's just say this, wasn't very good at it.
Got you.
And it lasted like 6 years, 7 years. When I could have taken care of it in like 6 months.
Yeah.
So everyone's coming to me and I'm going, listen, I'm not in charge of this.
They took
Obviously,
me off of
this person felt that they wanted somebody else to handle it. So I'm just sitting back the rest, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
And you have to be responsible when it comes to dead people's money.
You have to. Now, real quick, I know we got a little bit of time. Do you recommend as a lawyer that people leave a will?
Yeah.
Got it.
Absolutely. You are the most selfish human being on the planet if you don't leave a will, because you are going to cause hate when you're gone. And the best thing for you to do is this: let people know what's in the will beforehand.
And be honest.
Yeah. I mean, like my brothers weren't included in the original copy of the will, and they were like certifiable. And we wound up taking crap about it. And it made sure that the will went the other way when it came to another death. But it was painful. Now, here's what you can do. Let's say you're the recipient of money. Let's say there are two brothers. You have a brother and your father intentionally left out, wrote in the will, I don't want brother Zachariah to get any money.
To get any of my stuff, yeah.
Okay. So what you can do is say, no, I want to give him half.
Of what I get. Yeah. Okay.
Now, I've been in a relationship where somebody who didn't do that.
Yeah.
And they don't have to do it, but, people can be scummy.
It'd be nice if they do.
Yeah. But in the end, take care of it, write a will. Some of them are free online. The Florida Bar has a will online. A lot of bar has one, a basic will.
I don't think people know that. That's good information, man.
But just make sure you do everything properly. Like you need proper notary, you need proper witnesses.
Okay.
Like a relative can't notarize a document for you.
And you're absolutely right with that. My sister's a
friend
notary.
can, but not a notary. And then you need witnesses. Like Florida, I think requires 2 witnesses and a notary.
Got it.
But go to their site, make sure that that's up to date, and take care of business. Also, if you're ever sitting around waiting for money from somebody else, you're truly not fighting for your own life.
I agree.
So take care, fight the good fight. Don't wait for other people's money. If you want something from them, like a ring or something else, ask them before they die. Say, listen, is there any way, I don't care about anything else, you could, like my dad, he had a necklace. And I said, Dad, I'd like that necklace. And it wasn't worth a lot.
But it meant something to you.
But it meant something to me, and I wear it all the time. So
nice.
It means something. So be straightforward, be honest, and hopefully you have a family that you can have these conversations with. We might not be back in a few because I might have to kill my sister by the time we're done.
That's good.
2 attorneys arguing. Sometimes we don't argue, sometimes we do. But I think we're going to argue about this because we both disagree vehemently in different directions. Karen Reed was just found not guilty in her criminal case dealing with murdering or potentially be involved in the murder of her boyfriend, police officer from Massachusetts. Now, during the trial, they had other police officers testifying, and it was clear that these officers were being shifty, just shifty as hell. They didn't have the answers. They were answering in weird ways. Anybody who was on that jury would go,
Seems a little weird.
They had this
forced, too contrived.
Not only contrived, but when they asked them a question, why would you do that? And looking in different directions, like they had this female officer. You couldn't have looked more shifty than she was. She was backpedaling.
I didn't see what she did.
She was backpedaling. They asked her the question, hey, did your chief actually bring you into his office to discuss your testimony? And she's looking around in different directions. The answer is yes.
She didn't answer immediately?
Yes.
She didn't answer immediately?
No. Yeah. And did he ever say these words? You'll do the right thing. Well, I can't be sure that that's exactly what he said. Here's the answer, and you and I both know it. Police officers, when they're on the stand, they don't like to look stupid. And they can't ever say, I don't remember. They're smart police officers. The really smart ones know better. But 95% of it, and if you're a police officer right now, I'm going to teach you how to testify. Watch this.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's real simple. Don't make up the answer, because you know what happens when you make up the answer? Somebody like me kicks you in your mouth, and you can't arrest him. You can't do what you normally do when somebody disrespects you and just take them in for the hell of it. You have to sit there and take it, but you have forgotten how to do that because you've been a police officer so long, and you've been basically, I'm going to be straightforward with you, some of you are bullies. Some of you can't take constructive criticism. Some of you can't feel less. So you act out in bad ways. And when you do that in court, you lose, and so does the state. So that's what happened in this case. And you and I, we don't agree on this. You think they just say it because they're trying to protect the case. I think they're trying to protect themselves.
Well, in a roundabout way, they are trying to protect themselves, in that they're trying to protect their department, in that they want their department to get the conviction. So it's a long chain, but yeah, they're.
Or you think it's about protecting the case?
Yeah, they're included in that group. They're part of the group that's trying to get a conviction, and so it's important for them to get the conviction. So they'll say, a lot of times they'll conveniently forget the things that might help a defendant, but have just incredibly great memory on the things that help the state. It's very odd to see that live.
Okay, BS, calling it. They don't give a crap about the case. They've been taught how to testify. How many times have we cross-examined somebody? Well, we did criminal defense, and we asked them, were you taught how to testify? Did you take a class?
If they were taught how to testify, whoever their teacher was did a very bad job. I think what you mean is they were told what to testify. I don't think anybody took these guys into a class.
Every
and
time
said,
you see an officer,
hey,
do this. Watch this. The officer does this. Questions being asked in front of me. The officer turns to the jury and talks to the jury. Not the person asking him the questions. Mm-hmm. Anytime an expert or something else faces the jury, he's been trained.
No, I'll give you that.
It's unnatural.
Because there's some kind of training. That is unnatural to turn.
And they look at
expert witnesses do that because they know to do it.
Because they're trying to gain sympathy.
They don't know. They'll turn and look at the judge. I've seen the judge go, tell them.
Tell them. Tell him. And that's the problem. When you look at this stuff, you're just like going, you lose a case.
And you don't think, you think it's just personal ego, that they have no desire for their department to come out on top?
I've cross-examined. Remember the FBI guy in our trial? We had the FBI head of security, worked for the FBI for 20 years. And within about 10 minutes of me kind of beating on him, you know, he started testifying in a weird direction because he didn't quite know what to say.
You had him flustered. That's pretty cool.
Except this, that when you're on the stand, just listen to the question. Okay, yeah, I don't know. It's that simple. Anytime you're in a deposition, you don't know. I don't know. Attorneys, that's the worst thing you can tell an attorney. I don't know. And people can't do it. Their egos won't allow it because they think they seem less intelligent if they say, I don't know. It wouldn't affect the case. Everyone knows what the requirements were. Okay, were you driving? Were you doing this? Were you doing this? That's it. I have it. We were talking earlier about a police officer in one of our civil cases who was testifying. Dude beat my ass.
He did. He wasn't trying to. He was one of the only witnesses
smart.
He really didn't care how the case went. He was just talking about what he remembered.
Don't remember.
And he said something incorrectly, and you called him on it. And then all he did is he looked at his report and he goes, "Oh yeah, you're right." And you were like,
I was mad. What do you mean I'm right? You're not allowed.
No, you're supposed to.
You're supposed to look like a douche.
No, you're supposed to be all upset. And, yeah, you're right.
Well, that's what happened. I mean, I think of my older days when I used to do a lot of criminal defense.
That's rare, though, Jeff. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's impossible.
Right?
It
for
never
an
happens.
officer to go, oh yeah, you're right. Like, that is probably the only time that's ever happened to you.
Never. I was mad. I was furious. I was furious that this guy didn't act like everybody else who has ever been in a case opposite of me. I was so mad at that.
I was front row for that.
That sucked.
Yeah.
That sucked. All right, let's see what we're looking at. Ooh, somebody handed me something unfriendly. One of the people from the Manson family murders is being considered for parole after more than 50 years. She's 77 years old. She was originally sentenced to death, but because the laws changed in California.
Oh, they don't execute anybody over there.
Well, they used to. but now they changed rules. So she was given life instead. But I guess life isn't what we thought life was anymore. Life is
life is life. You die in prison. That's how it's supposed to go.
Not in California. So she's up for probation. I mean, she's up for parole.
The problem is there's probably nobody left from her victim's family to come testify that she
I'm
should
sure
have
there's
been
somebody
out.
there.
Think so? So what was her name? The lady that we're talking about.
Lady's name is Patricia Krenwinkel. No issue that she killed this person. No issue that it was vicious. No issues of anything else.
Did she actually kill somebody, or she just there with the people?
No, she was one of the killers. Yeah, she killed them.
Yeah, that's awful. They should not even consider that.
Well, think about it now.
She's supposed to be dead.
But think about
she
this
was
now.
sentenced to die.
I get it. Back then, we feel differently now.
You should die in prison. This is how you behave. You have to die in prison.
You have to die.
Have to.
Have to.
Yes.
No exceptions.
No exception.
There is no forgiveness. There is no
not
learning.
For something like this. No, not for the.
After 50 years, you think you figured it out that you did wrong?
I don't care if she figured it out. She's being punished. This is not to rehabilitate. I don't give a crap if she's rehabilitated. I want, and society and her family and the people who knew the victims, they want her punished. That's the primary purpose of our justice system, is to punish. Rehab, that's extra.
So who are the only people?
That's gravy. If you accidentally get rehabbed while you're being punished, that's great. We'll take that too. But you're there for punishment, not for rehabilitation. Punishment.
Okay. So you don't believe in any situation where a person who's been found guilty, and let's say the evidence is clear, and a jury made a reasonable decision that they should have to serve that full sentence, no matter what?
Yeah, no exception.
Okay. So how are our president allowed to pardon people all the time who actually did it?
Yeah, I disagree with their ability
So
to pardon
pardons can't be
people.
given.
If it's Craig's dictatorship running America, yeah, pardons don't count for murderers. Never. You can't pardon a murderer. Ever, ever, ever.
So somebody can't learn.
No. It doesn't matter if they learn. If you're a murderer, you must be punished to the fullest extent. And the fullest extent is you either being killed by the state or dying in the state's care. I don't care if you learned or didn't learn. It doesn't matter to me. You need to be punished. You killed somebody, you die in prison, or the state kills you. Those are the only two acceptable options.
I don't know. I think when you're talking crimes like heat of passion or something done quick, a stupid quick act, I don't think that defines you for 70 years. I just don't think that.
Yeah, taking a drink too many and driving home and not meaning to kill somebody, sure. I can see eventually not being punished anymore for that. Killing somebody and writing helter skelter in their blood on the wall, no.
You don't think there was any mental manipulation
I
of this person?
care.
You should.
I don't care if there's mental manipulation.
I don't see a difference between being drunk and being in a cult where they kept you up for days on end and you finally wound up getting Stockholm syndrome.
Well, there you go. That's how you justify it. I can't justify it that way. Absolutely not.
Fact is this. This is what happened. The woman chased Abigail Folger with a knife, stabbed her multiple times at the home.
Well, hold on. Let's keep reading and you'll get to what I'm talking about. She later testified that her hand throbbed from the repeated stabbing. Her hand hurt. She stabbed her so many times that her hand hurt.
I mean, later.
Whatever.
Well, how many times does somebody punch somebody and afterwards go, oh, that hurt? That doesn't mean anything.
It speaks to the viciousness and the callousness displayed by that woman that night. You need to die in prison. I'm upset we didn't kill you in prison. We should have killed you in prison. Electric chair, lethal injection, whatever they do in California. Hanging, I don't care. That lady does not deserve to take another breath. She does not deserve to enjoy another meal. If they ever have apple pie or carrot cake or anything in the mess hall while they're feeding her, that's a pleasure she should be denied. She should be dead.
I think in this case, there's a lot of extenuating stuff. Yes, it was evil. Yes, it was ridiculously bad. But I think the environment that she was in has to be taken into account. And when you have such a lunatic like Charles Manson convinced a lot of people to do a lot of stuff. And we're talking high-end bands.
Here's what I think. Mercy to the perpetrator, mercy to the criminal is cruelty to the victim. There's no way around it.
So do you think it's only the let's get on this. So what if the family members say, you know what, we forgive her. We think she's
It's not
served
up
enough
to the
time.
family members.
Well,
Family members may have lots
thought that
of
was the
different
point.
reasons. No.
that's what you just said. That
point-
it's unfair to the family.
The point is to punish them, not to appease the victims.
No, I think it's
It should appease the victims that the perpetrator is being punished. That should, but it doesn't matter if it appeases them or not. They need to be punished for the sake of being punished. I don't care if the victim comes in and says, yeah, that was my mom and I'm really sad, but I'm a religious person and I don't want this person to die. So I think they should get life in prison, or they should be given a second chance. God believes everybody should get a I can see a victim's family member saying something like that. Doesn't matter. It's not up to you. They're being punished for them. They need to be punished. We're not trying to appease the victim here.
Actually, I think we're actually wrong about that. I think our system is set up. In fact, we even have moments before sentencing where family members come up and they read how they feel about it, and they want it to affect the sentencing. In fact, when you think about one of the most powerful cases that have ever existed in our lifetime, you're talking about, our boy Epstein. The only reason why Epstein wound up paying for the crime was because the families were not informed of the punishment and they weren't allowed to say something. And that's why the federal case was undone, because we do take family members and the victims serious and when it comes to this and when it comes to their punishment.
Don't take them seriously. They can have a say.
But they involved in their punishment. That's part of our law now. That part of their punishment is going to be based on
they can give
how they
statements so that the person, and it's usually the judge determining what the sentence is going to be, can take that into consideration. I'm not saying that the state shouldn't execute somebody and not hear from the very religious family member who doesn't want them to be executed. Sure, you can say your piece. And that might even do them some good to say, hey, I went and I did what I could to try and save this person's life. I did right by the Lord, and I did what I could, but the judge sentences that person to death anyway. They need to, again, not to appease the victim's family, but to punish the person who desperately needs to be punished.
In the end, we have a parole board where we let people out early in situations like that. And it's normally based on whether they've accepted responsibility for the crime and that they've learned from their issues and who they've become. And what we're saying now is, hey, guess what? Nobody gets paroled for anything. No matter, because guess what? Death is not the worst.
No.
Then what about rape?
Depends.
Parole for rape?
Not if it's a child. Absolutely not.
Okay, but an adult could be raped.
It depends on the circumstances, because things qualify as rape that aren't the same as, hey, I snatched you up, drove you to a cabin, you didn't know me before. Or it could be rape too, to, hey, we've been dating for this many months and, well, you took some drugs and I took some drugs and next thing you know, we're both fooling around. So there's all categories of things that qualify for rape. So no, you can't make a statement that all rape deserve the same kind of punishment. You can make the statement that all murders deserve the same type of punishment.
I wasn't in the right state of mind. You already agreed that if I was drunk, it's okay.
If you were drunk and you stabbed somebody to death because you wanted to bring about their death, no, not okay.
I thought the monkeys.
If you were drunk and you drove, well, okay, well, then we need to take you off the planet because you aren't in your right mind.
I wasn't in my right mind when it happened.
Well, yeah. So what? You're being punished for what you did.
Okay, but we've already decided that based on the situation, it could be okay.
For murder?
So who gets to make that decision?
We, us, society. We
you mean
society.
Craig?
Yeah.
Craig, you're on the parole board?
Me, you, the whole society.
How many murderers do you think get paroled every year?
I don't know.
Hundreds, thousands. Probably.
If one of them gets paroled, that's too many.
Okay. Well, our system is set up to allow us to change the way we feel about somebody.
There has to be some crimes that there's no coming back from, and murder's one of them. I know you don't like to hear it, but there has to be some crimes that are so bad that you cannot be forgiven for them. And murder's one of them.
There's always something that we can say, well, now this, and now this, and now this. I mean, think about drunk driving. Drunk driving is only a huge crime now because of a political action group. That's it. Half the crimes people get arrested for in almost every state are DUIs. It's an industry.
Well,
in criminal offense.
In Florida, they call it the Financial Relief Act for criminal defense attorneys.
Yes. I mean,
it's half their cases. It's half of every criminal defense attorney's cases.
Yes, is DUIs.
Probably DUIs.
Why is DUI so prosecuted over every other crime?
I don't know.
We do. Political. Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
Is that really a thing anymore?
Oh, yeah. They get awards.
Do they still
Remember,
exist?
officers used to get
Mothers Against
awards
Drunk Driving still exist?
they would get awards from this organization, depending on how many arrests they had.
Really?
I remember cross-examining a guy. I said, weren't you the top DUI arresting officer? And didn't you get an award for that? And don't you get promotions for more thing? I mean, DUI is the easiest crime to arrest somebody for and get credit for. How tough is it? I'll pull over. Yeah. Get in the car.
Did they have a way of tracking to make sure that the person actually was convicted of it, or they just got arrested for
No,
it?
just arrest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess the argument for the police officer would be, hey, listen, it's up to the prosecutor after I arrest them. It's
Right.
not up to me. I took them off the street. I saved your children's life by taking them off the street.
I mean, certain crimes we can agree we've politicized. Certain cases are politicized, and certain people go to trial that shouldn't go to trial. And this happens all the time. It happened with our president. It happens with certain people who kill the wrong person or certain people who steal from the wrong person. Remember the case I had, the 22-count JOA, that the Department of Insurance in Florida went after this guy because the guy who was running for Senate at the time needed the money from the insurance companies, and we had investigators lying. You think any of these investigators were ever put up on a perjury charge? No. It happens all the time, the way we feel and the way the wind blows, and that's just the way our government works, and it's the way our criminal justice system works. We'll be back in a few unless I get arrested. With us today is writer and columnist Dave Barry. Dave, can you hear me?
I can hear you great. Thank you.
Wow. I was talking with you earlier before we got into this about you actually being a serious Floridian, going to all the Hurricane games. I mean, you adopted Miami like it was home almost immediately.
I absolutely loved Miami. Now, when I first came down here, it was in the Miami Herald hired me in like 1983, and they flew me down, and I met everybody, and this was back in the cocaine cowboy era.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, I'm never going to live here. This city is just, I got lost. I got the traffic, the craziness. And so for the next 3 years, I lived in Glen Mills, Pennsylvania, and I was the humor columnist for the Miami Herald. And during those 3 years, they flew me down. I did stories down here, and got to meet people. And the more I would come to Miami, the more I'd think, if you're going to write humor for a living, this is a pretty rich area. So I came to love Miami. And so I moved here in 1986, almost 40 years ago now. And I've been here ever since. So now I'm a Miami guy. I'm a Florida guy.
You know what I love about you specifically is everyone knows you as a columnist, but Miami knows you as their columnist.
Yeah.
There was an ownership where we said, no, he's ours.
Yeah.
And that was a pretty cool thing because Miami is known for a couple things, but very rarely does a writer get that kind of credit in a monster city, in a big size city, not like a small town, but like a city as big as Miami.
Yeah, I've become associated with the city. Carl Hiaasen is very much associated with, Florida, more the whole state. But yeah, I'm Miami. I defend Miami. I tell everybody it's like, it's not. My joke is we have a new attitude down here, new tourism promotion slogan. Come back to Miami. We weren't shooting at you.
Something like that. We were never the murder capital, like Philadelphia or New Orleans. We always got away with that.
No, Miami, Miami's reputation is much worse than Miami, in my opinion. And that's been true for a long time.
See, what cuts me up is you came down at the same time that Miami Vice was big. And I mean, it's just so funny that you started in this city that now has this huge reputation because of a TV show.
Well, and what was funny, if you remember the Miami Vice era, Miami was dealing with its massive drug and, crime problem for a while, especially the drug thing, a lot of cocaine. And the city fathers and the Chamber of Commerce, the politicians hated the idea of Miami Vice, hated it. Miami was trying to be Orlando back then. We wanted to be family friendly and then this show comes and it's about everybody in the show is a drug dealer. Like if Don Johnson and Philip Michael just going all around and all they're ever doing. And it seems like everybody in Miami is in the drug business. And everybody's like, oh no, this is terrible for our image. And of course the opposite happened. Everybody went, wow, Miami is so cool. Look look at how they wear pastels and they drive these cool cars. And suddenly, that became Miami's thing. We're not Orlando. We are not family friendly. We're like drugs and cars and but people loved it. And it was like, in a weird way, it was like the savior of the image of Miami at the beginning of the Renaissance of Miami tourism was that show.
It's such a crazy thing. And I get the opportunity. I write some comic books. I write some children's books. I get to do stand up. But when I think about prolific writers, I think of Stephen King and you. It is the list and the lit. I mean, and I always, I write, but I don't write like you write. Like it's it's breathing. It's just so amazing.
Well, I don't write like Stephen King writes. I'm in a rock band with Stephen King, and he's my friend. And that guy writes a book like every 5 minutes. I mean, if you added all the books that I've ever written together, it'd be the equivalent of like 2 months of Stephen King's output. The guy's, I don't know how he does it. It's phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, I've been writing. First of all, I'm old, so I'm going to be 78 years old in a couple of weeks. So that's all I've ever done is write. So if you don't die, which I've so far not done, that I'm aware of, and you keep writing, you're going to end up with a whole lot of books. They won't necessarily be good books, but there'll be a lot of them.
I grew up in Miami, so Miami in the 70s in Miami, you're the young whippersnapper on Miami Beach. So I think you're okay with that.
All right, yeah, that's true. I tell everybody 77 is the new 74.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, you got a new book out called Class Clown, The Memories of a Professional Wise Ass. I love that concept because it has that Peter Pan feeling about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I got told more than once, and I was actually elected class clown at Pleasantville High School, Pleasantville, New York, class of 1965, and I was a wise ass back then. I still am, but I got told more than once by teachers after I disrupted another class. Well, that's very funny, but you cannot joke your way through life. Which turns out to be untrue. You can, in fact, joke your way through life, and this book is the story of how I did that.
When I think about being able to be a wise ass, because I'm an attorney, I've pulled off a lot of nonsense in courtrooms. I put on a Tigger costume once in a courtroom, and I think that being a wise ass, it's either part of your occupation or it's not.
Yeah, and if you are one, and you are, and I am, you can't not be that. Like you just can't. You pull it back and say, no, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut here. Nope, you got to say it. Whatever it is, you got to go through with it.
When I'm at conventions, a lot of people come up to me and they'll ask me what it takes to be a writer, and they go, "I want to be a writer." And I said, "Well, do you write?" And they look at me and they go, "Well, I'm just trying to get some inspiration." And I just don't see that. I don't see it.
Dude, if you wait for inspiration, you will never be a writer. And I get the same thing. Like, I want to be a writer. And I go like, well, do you write? No, I don't write. And to me, that's like saying, I want to be a concert violinist. And I go like, well, do you ever play the violin? Do you practice? Do you own a violin? No, but I'd like to do that. No, it doesn't work that way. It's the same thing. You have to do it a lot. And you have to suck at it for a long time, usually at the beginning, before you really can do it in a way that people are going to want to pay you for.
The more I learned about structure, I always wondered if that affected my creativity. Now, knowing how I have to do things and how I plug and play things, and I always wondered, the more you learn, the less the ideas come out, or do you just seem to be more organized in the way you throw up all your ideas?
I have no idea what that question is.
Well, I mean, when we first start, we learn, we're just writing. And then somebody says to us, hey, you got to organize your stuff. You got to know your endings. You got to do this. And the more you learn. Oh, I
see. Well, yeah, no, I mean, technique is very important. I think, you do get better at structuring jokes, setting up a joke and delivering the punchline, and then not repeating it too much, that kind of stuff. Technique is important, but in the end, there has to be some spark of something that was funny, that was original, that preceded all that. And then what you get better at, I think, is what you're talking about, is like the structure, the technique, the execution. But there has to be something going on in your brain before all that to make it work.
when we talked earlier about writing, everybody wants to be a writer. I think they like it because there's a celebrity concept to it. There's, oh, I'm a creative person, I'm this. But they don't know about the 8 hours you've been in your room typing and typing. They don't know about the editing process. They don't really think about it. And by the time your book comes out, you're already 2 books into something else. And
they also don't, partly it's that, there's work involved in writing. I'm not saying it's like the hardest work. It's certainly not physical work, but it's work. You got to put it in. The other thing is just writing a book, publishing a book does not make you famous.
no.
This is like the hard lesson that a lot of writers get. They get a book out and then, it doesn't show up in the stores. Nobody buys it. They don't get on TV. They don't get on, Oprah doesn't pick you to be in her book club. There's like thousands and thousands and thousands of books come out every year. It's very hard to get any attention whatsoever. So it's not really as glamorous as people think it is, unless you're Stephen King.
Well, even with him, I wonder, over a period of time, you're going, okay, I have another book, And when people start critiquing you, I mean, that's the hardest thing is the reviews and the critiquement. And you're going, listen, I wrote it because I enjoy it. I don't know if it's good or not. It just came out.
Don't read reviews. That's I'm in the band that I'm in with Stephen King. I'm also with Amy Tan. And Amy Tan told me long ago, just don't read reviews. Just don't, because if they're good, you'll feel good about it. But if one of them's bad, that's the one you'll remember for the rest of your life. So, and it won't change what you wrote, and it's just one person's opinion. So I have found it to be excellent advice. I don't read reviews. If somebody says you got a rave review here, I might read it just because I know ahead of time it's a rave review. But that doesn't really, it doesn't matter if that's a rave review really, because, it still doesn't change what you wrote. So it's better to not pay attention to reviews is my view.
I think about writing jokes because I also do stand-up. And when a joke doesn't fall or hit, you're kind of like going, God, it's a good joke, though. And you can
Nope.
you feel it's a good joke. But when it doesn't, how many times have you gone, laughed at your own thing and then later going, I guess it wasn't funny.
That's what I tell everybody this. That's the most important lesson about humor. It's supposed to be funny. And you can't say that it's funny if people don't laugh. It's just the way it is. What works, works, and what doesn't work, doesn't work. But you must accept that people, if they don't laugh, that it didn't work. And you can claim to be brilliant, but it still didn't work. So there you are. And that happens to everybody, I think. And sometimes I think, like it can be like it really was a good joke. You really did execute it. You did everything right. But for whatever reason, it doesn't work. You have to accept that.
Now, I'm going to talk about editing. Have you ever had an editor?
Yeah, many. My column ran in 500 newspapers, and every one of them had an editor, and every single one of those editors would read my column and decide what to do with it. And sometimes they would change things, and sometimes they would delete things. So I had many, 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 way too many editors. But I only had a couple that I liked and trusted, the ones I worked for at the Miami Herald, Gene Weingarten, Tom Schroeder, mainly, 2 guys that are wonderful word guys and I would argue with them. I mean, I would sometimes think they were wrong and we would fight but I respected them. Beyond that, a lot of editors I don't really care for. My book editors have been, for the most part, terrific. But
it's hard. That's the hardest thing about writing is when you write something and somebody else goes, no, I don't think this is good, or I don't think this is funny. And I've actually, when I've signed a book, I've written the joke back into it just because I'm so mad that the editor cut it out. And
I never thought to do that. That's extreme, but
yeah, it was. I still do it. Somebody will put that book in front of me and I'll write it back in. I'll go, no, see the good joke? And I'll go, was it funny? And sometimes they go, yeah, it's funny. And sometimes they go, it wasn't. I said, well, maybe they should have kept it out. I don't know. So I can't imagine how tough is. Have you ever had anything pulled out where you fought and they still kicked it out?
Yeah, I mean, I used to write. The Washington Post used to run my year in review, and they were the biggest paper that ran it. I wrote this year in review every year, and each year they got a little more woke. If that can use that term, PC, whatever.
Listen, I don't censor anybody. Yeah,
and they would pull. I would see more and more like jokes, and they would explain to me why, and I'm like, that's ridiculous, But I didn't argue too much about it, but I did get irritated, and I would run the same joke again, what you did really basically, and every other paper I would leave it in, and the Washington Post would pull it out. Nobody would ever complain. So yeah, I mean, I'm still bitter about that. Some of the jokes the Washington Post yanked out of uber sensitivity to their readers. Yeah, I thought, just stupid. And, that happened when I wrote my syndicated column. There were many newspapers that would either just not run the column that week or would, yank parts of it out. Nothing I could do about it, but I didn't like it.
Now, when you walk away, you go, listen, I need a break. I'm a little, whatever reason. And you're thinking to yourself, and everybody, you're getting emails. Well, not emails, but you're getting letters. People are saying, hey, I miss your column. I miss this. I miss it. Please come back. Please come back. How tough was it for you to go, no, I'm good?
It was easy. I really was done in 2005 when I stopped writing my weekly column. Now, that said, earlier this year, I started writing a Substack, which is essentially a column with way fewer time restrictions, and I don't have a deadline and I don't have editors. So it's a lot more free form. But I've been doing that, and that's been fun. And a lot of the people who have subscribed to that Substack said, boy, I missed your column. It's, I'm glad to see it back. But I mean, I didn't mind not doing it. I felt like I'd done it, and I like what I'm doing now. So I don't have any regrets.
When you come back, because I took a hiatus, I got mad over something, and that's always the way it works. You get mad and you go, I'm not doing this. And I took that break. And when I came back, I felt I was clean. I felt like I wasn't as angry as I was when I walked away. I wasn't as tired, and I was actually writing again because I loved it. I mean, is that where we live right now?
Yeah, that's with me in the Substack. I've really enjoyed writing it again. I find myself thinking more in terms of columns again, which for a long time I just thought about books, and I like that. I'm enjoying being back, and I feel like freer. Like I'm 77 years old, and I don't feel like I don't feel like I have anything to prove anymore. I can just do what I think is funny, what I want to do, and it's working out.
Now, you and I grew up at a time where there were no cell phones, there was no internet and everything else. You put something out, it wasn't instantaneously put out there to the whole world. I mean, I can't imagine if you would have started 20 years later and would have seen that column would have been, oh yeah, it's a forum and all these people are commenting, and you would have gotten direct feedback from the people. I mean, I can't even imagine what that would have been like.
Yeah, I did get a lot of feedback. I encouraged it always. It was one of the reasons I was successful, I think, as a syndicated columnist, was I would constantly run columns based on letters that I'd gotten from readers, and I would always give them credit. And in the column, I would use their names, and thank them. And so I got a tremendous amount of feedback in a pre-internet time. It wasn't instantaneous, but it was pretty quick. I mean, a column would run, and a couple days later, my mailbox was full of literal mail. I don't know that it would have changed that much in that respect. What really changed was that the newspaper industry died. So like the idea of a focused place where a lot of people went for the same, then we're all reading the same thing at the same time, kind of disappeared and was replaced by a billion different tweets and blogs and whatever.
Well, I've got about a little over a minute left, and I guess I remember the first time I saw AI, which was a program called Jasper about a year. God, it must have been about 5 years ago. And I watched what it did and how it created things. And it scared the crap out of me. I'm going, wow, is our creativity sit in a box now where somebody can just go, tell me a story about a monkey and make it funnier? And it just keeps pumping stuff out. And I mean, it just feels like we're losing something.
Yeah, but it's it's there. It's real. It's not going away. I don't know. So far, I don't find it to be that good at humor, but everybody assures me it'll get there. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just good that I'm really, really old. I don't have to compete with AI anymore, or I won't. I'll be gone by the time it's that good. I don't know. I have no lifeline to throw you there because AI is not going away.
No, genie's out of the bottle. That's the way it works. But let me thank you again. Dave Barry's book, Class Clown, The Memoirs of a Professional Wise Ass, How I Went 77 Years Without Growing Up. It's out now. Go to Amazon, go wherever you need to go, and enjoy it like you have the rest of his books. Thanks for being Dave.
Thanks for having me. Go Panthers.
Well, that wraps up today's show. I'm attorney Jeff Kaufman. Thanks for joining us. Special thanks to my two co-hosts, my good friend, professional comedian James John, and my law partner, Craig Lind. This show is sponsored by Kaufman Lind. If you or someone you know has been in an accident, contact us at 407-500-JEFF or 407-500-5333 for a free consultation, or visit us at whenyouneedus.com.